do so.
Talk to me if you need me to. Yeah.
And also, this event will be in Naomi's follow-up email tomorrow. So I won't bore you anymore, and I'd like to invite Matthew up to give his talk. I'll just get...
Hello, good evening. So, I'm Matthew Ravel. I work at a company called Couchbase. There's two things we could be. We could be a sofa company, or we could be a database company, and we're the latter. So I'm going to talk very briefly, because I've got 10 minutes, about building offline-first mobile apps. So who here is a software developer of some kind? Okay, so because there's not many of you here, I'm going to skip over it, but ask me if you have any questions. Okay, so Couchbase, very briefly, like I say, we're a database company. If you're one of the developers, you'll know at least one of these two. I'll skip over that. Basically, we make software that enables people to build large-scale data storage things. So if you've got an Apple iPhone, your iTunes ID is stored in Couchbase in their data centers. If you've got a Sky ID, your Sky user profile and all your billing information is stored in Couchbase in the center. What else? If you play a lot of mobile games, things like that, again, they're built with Couchbase. So it's just a layer that stores data, which doesn't sound very interesting, but actually it's a really hard problem once you start serving millions of people and storing lots and lots of data. And one of the problems, so that's some of the companies who use this, interesting stuff, but I'll skip over it. So we have two different sides of it. There's Couchbase Mobile, which is for storing data on mobile devices, and then there's Couchbase Server, which is for the cloud, the data center, that side of things. Tonight I'm going to talk about Couchbase Mobile primarily. So what's the problem? If you're building a mobile application, you effectively come across this situation. You've got a good network connectivity on the device, everything's going fine, you're transferring data to and from the device, and yep, that's not a problem. Then, someone goes up a hill in the Peak District, or they go into a tunnel, and suddenly your app doesn't work because for some reason you've decided that actually you're going to build an application for a device that has unreliable connectivity in such a way that always relies on connectivity. Well, so, okay, that's what some people do, because actually syncing data between the device and the data center is hard. And what happens is people give up. There's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of options to do something else on the phone other than your app. So if your app stops working when people expect it to, then hey, they're going to give it a bad review, and they might well uninstall it without giving it much more thought, and that's your chance gone. And a company called USAMP did some research on why people uninstall mobile apps, and these were the top reasons. The mobile app's freezing, it's crashing, or it's slow to respond. And a lot of the time, the root cause of that is poor connectivity. Your app isn't able to deal with the fact that there isn't a connection. So, how do we solve this? Well, with Couchbase Mobile, we see the problem as being where you store the data. So like I say, if you store the data remotely in the cloud, and you require an internet connection between the mobile device and that data, there will obviously be problems sometimes when the people are in a poor network area. So the way that we do things with Couchbase Mobile is we give you a way to store data locally. That's not revolutionary, obviously, but the interest is that you sync the data with very, very little effort. So what do I mean by that? Okay, there's some wonderful things that might happen if you use Couchbase Mobile. Okay, so what is it? It's Couchbase Lite, which is a very small, lightweight document database for the phones. There's native versions for iOS, for Android, and also any way you can run the JV, Raspberry Pi or something like that. And there's a version for Xamarin as well if you're a .NET developer who wants to target multiple platforms. Then there's Sync Gateway, which I'll come on to in a minute. Okay, so Couchbase Lite, like I say, it's a document database. So it's not a SQL relational database. You're storing JSON documents, which are all kind of well, the here are familiar with is the way that the standard interchange format for data on the web. And you query it by doing MapReduce functions. Probably not of much interest going into the detail of that right now. And what it does is it conforms to reactive principles. So basically, you tie up bits of your user interface to data in Couchbase Lite. And what happens is when, say, someone's bank balance updates and that gets pushed into the database, that will automatically be pushed to your UI layer, and then you can decide how to deal with that. Probably you'll update the display of their figures. And then it syncs. This is the really important bit, and we'll come on to that in a minute. Okay, so document-oriented database. One of the interesting things is that it's schemaless. So with a traditional relational database, one of the problems you've got is that you have to basically decide the shape of your data up front and then stick with that. And if you want to make a change, it's painful because you have to basically rejig all of the data that's there and try and fit it into a different hole or shaped hole. So yeah, like I say, because most people here aren't developers, I'm not going to go into detail too much. But to give you an idea of how easy it is to get Couchbase Lite into your system, you're basically doing a connection there. You're then creating a document in that document database object, and then you're putting your JSON looking like key value pairs into that document, and that's about it. And then to get a document, you just load it back in using get document. This is in C# here. Deleting, you delete the document. You know, it's not rocket science. Okay, JSON. Like I said, JSON is the interchange format of the web. It looks like this. It's key value pairs. Really quite straightforward. You know, remove the brackets and the speech marks and so on, and you've basically got English. You're saying the location is Birmingham. The speaker is me. You know, it's nothing to get scared about. Okay, so MapReduce indexes are a way of finding data within those JSON documents. I'm not going to go into it right now. But for those of you interested, you can write them in the native language of the platform that you're targeting. Okay, change notifications. Like I said, basically you tell Couchbase Lite to observe or listen for changes in the data that matters to you, and then you handle those changes in your UI layer. So like I say, if one really good example is if Ryanair are using this for their mobile app. Now, okay, not everyone likes Ryanair. I do. I think I've actually never had a bad experience with them. What happens though on their mobile app is, or what will happen soon, is once you've made your booking, they will then use this to push your mobile boarding card to you, and they'll have a little thing in their app that says, once there's a change to this bit of data, the mobile boarding card, update the UI to display a notification saying that you've got your mobile boarding card ready. So it's stuff like that. It's kind of, it does a lot of the work for you essentially. Okay, sync. So why is sync important? The developers here will, particularly anyone who's written a mobile app, will know that storing data locally or storing data in the cloud is easy. It's when you try and do both that it's hard. Because what you're dealing with, you're dealing with this problem of not knowing whether you've got a connection, not just whether it's there at the start, but it might drop off halfway through you doing something, synchronizing data. And so you end up writing hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of lines of code to deal with all the different vagaries of a mobile connection. Couchbase Mobile deals with that for you. You save your data, you then tell it roughly, once you tell it roughly what to do in terms of who should be allowed to sync what data, where it should go, and that sort of thing, and then it just handles it. So you save the data, and then when there's a connection, it will sync it up. And you can push it the other way as well, from the data center or the cloud into the mobile device. Okay, so I've got 2 minutes. So basically, we're talking about replacing weeks, maybe if you're very good, days of effort with this. Pull my stuff in, push my stuff out. Do it continuously, and let me know when something's changed. Then start. It's about as simple as that. It's open source. It's all on GitHub if you want to pull it down from GitHub. It's Apache licensed, so that's quite an open and free license. It means that you can build a business on this. Nobody's going to come after you and ask you to share all your source code. It's not like the GPL. So you can get it from the usual places that you'd expect to. So if you're Java developer, Maven Central. Sorry, if you are a Java developer, Maven Central. If you're a .NET developer, NuGet. CocoaPods if you're an iOS person. And like I say, it's all on GitHub. And this is where I now will probably skip some of these slides because I'm just going to go into already covered. One thing about Sync Gateway is not only does it handle synchronizing the data, but it handles things like deciding what data should go where. So if you've got a massive terabyte large database, you don't want to sync all that to every single customer's iPhone. Instead, what you would do is you tag certain documents with let's call them channel names, and then you subscribe people to those channels. So it's very easy to just send and receive the relevant documents using Sync Gateway. And again, this is very, very small amounts of code that enable you to concentrate on actually building value into your app rather than faffing about with stuff that have been solved many times over and over again. And there's an animation with some lightning. Great. Sync functions are basically JavaScript, so nothing too scary. And questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Matthew?
So typically, people are just using this as the gateway between mobile and somewhere else, and then synchronizing between your database and another product.
Sorry. So Couchbase Mobile will synchronize. Sorry, I just misswallowed something. Will synchronize between Couchbase Server or anything else that talks the CouchDB replication protocol. So that could be IBM Cloud Ant or Hoodie, which is another thing, or CouchDB itself. So there's a few options, but Couchbase Server is kind of the one that we support because it's our product. Yeah.
And back-end applications are just built on the Couchbase server.
Effectively, so you can get change notifications from Sync Gateway that now enable you then to put some middleware in to kind of process what's going on, and yeah, to kind of trigger off functionality when certain changes are made in the data center. So yeah, on the server side.
Anyone else?
What happens if there's a connection between them during a sync?
Well, that's basically the main selling point of the Sync Gateway is that it will recognize that connection's gone away and then try again as soon as the connectivity is there again. Or if you set it to not be continuous, it'll try again, say in 10 minutes or whenever it is that you've told it to do, whatever interval period that you've told it to do. So yeah, it won't give you a half update. It won't give you a corrupted update. It will just, if it completes fully, that's great. It'll give you the data. If not, it will try again.
So how do you make your money, or where's the commercial interest in the product?
Yeah, so like pretty much all open source, we sell licensing, which effectively means we sell support. So we have a support team in Manchester, one in Silicon Valley, maybe one in India as well, and one in Israel. So we do the kind of round-the-clock support. And so people like Apple will pay us X amount of money per server that they have running Couchbase Server. And for Couchbase Mobile, we're still kind of working out the business model, but yeah.
But you could, in theory, run the whole thing free?
Yeah, plenty of people do. So LinkedIn, for example, run 400 Couchbase servers and don't pay us a penny. Sorry?
Bastards.
Well, no, that's fine. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's the quid pro quo. You know, we get lots of free publicity from LinkedIn, so you know, it's not quite worth the $2.5 million that they should be paying us. But yeah, it's still quite nice. It's an endorsement. Yeah.
Did you say one else?
Yeah, I wondered how big the business was and how easy you find it to recruit people with the right skills to be able to develop what you develop and what you do.
Yeah. Okay. So the business is about 250 people. Our last funding round was $60 million. We've raised around, I think, $90 million to date. We have, you know, people globally out of that 250. And recruiting those people is really hard because we're talking so on the server side in particular, we're talking about very hard distributed computing problems. You know, if you've never looked at this stuff, then it probably seems trivial. But it's that problem of dealing with availability and consistency of data across many machines at once is, well, it's proven mathematically impossible. So you have to choose one, consistency or availability. And so it's things like that. It's knowing about the problems of distributing data. So that's on the engineering side. And then on the other side, I mean, enterprise sales hiring is always hard, I think. Yeah, so, but we seem to have a reasonably good sales team. We certainly do a good job of apart from with LinkedIn, of selling the what we have to offer. And there are a number of different companies in this space right now. There's DataStax, there's MongoDB, and basically, from what we understand, we have about the highest revenue of the lot of them. We're probably the least well known, though, is the problem. So that's why people like me exist, to come and shill, basically. But with it being open source, you know, I mean, we get a lot of kind of just word of mouth kind of passing around, really. But hiring is hard, very hard.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, cheers.
Now I just wanted to invite Paul and Adam up to speak. So I asked Adam and Paul if they'd like to speak about this, because I think it is actually relevant for lots of early startup businesses. So the Access to Finance web portal has recently been launched, and it was an initiative from the Greater Birmingham and Solihull LEP. So I thought it'd be relevant for Adam and Paul to come up and actually let people know what it's about. It should be sort of a one-stop place for anyone looking for any type of funding to be able to go on to this web portal. So I'll stop talking now because you might not have anything to say. So yeah, so 1 second, I'll just get there.
Thank you.
Oh, so.
Yeah, no, so, well, Michelle's doing that. So my name's Paul Ray. I'm from a firm of lawyers, actually, so I feel a bit overdressed with all you tech entrepreneurs here.
I did warn you.
But I'm from a firm of lawyers called Brown Jacobson. We're a national firm, but we've got 130 people here in Birmingham. And Adam's from Deloitte, who you would have heard is an accountant from Deloitte. But we're not here today representing our respective firms. We're here representing BPS Birmingham, which was called Birmingham Future, Birmingham Forward, represents the professional community, the advisors here in Birmingham, and also the LEP, who put the funding into this. So we had an idea that for SMEs and businesses like yourselves, getting funding is a challenge. And so what we wanted to do, we had the project idea, was to come up with a one-stop shop website to make it easier for entrepreneurs and businesses like you to raise finance. And what this website is designed to do is to create a clear pathway so you can get straight to funding. It's designed to be in English. As much of the jargon that you get in the financial world, we've asked the funders to make the information as specific as possible. So when you go onto it, you have an indication of what the pricing would be. You'd have an indication of how much funding will be made available. You have an indication whether they will like the tech sector or whether it's a sector they won't fund. So it's useful and easy to use information. And then also, and we'll show you a little bit of this in a second, is that there is information about how to present yourself for funding to funders, because there's a whole part of the knack, not only just finding the funder business, but actually presenting yourself with a business plan, a cash flow forecast, so that you can get them on board. So the website so the website address is Access to Finance Greater Birmingham, greaterbirmingham.co.uk. So it's mobile, it's on your mobile, so you can get it up now if you wish. And to summarise, it has a very simple search function, which is you can insert the amount of funding you require from £5,000 to £5 million. We've got internet funders on here, so it's the whole range of funders, including like the crowd funders and the peer-to-peer internet platform funders. We have 75 funders in total. You also then insert what you need the funding for, and again in English. Do you want it for startup? Do you want it for growth? Or do you want it for working capital? So we've stripped out whether you want it for different types of financial jargon. That's been stripped out. And also, how do you want to raise the funding? You're looking to raise debt? Are you looking for grant funding? which will be free, subject to conditions if you can get the grant funding, or are you prepared to give some of your equity in your business up? So they are the simple criteria behind this this website. So in summary, it's designed to be simple, easy to use. We acknowledge that it's used by people like you who have got not only whose day job isn't just raising finance for your business, you've got the whole ambit of business decisions to make and business functions to run. So it's designed to be easy to use, easy to navigate, and it creates, and we'll show you this in a second, a easy link direct to a funder who might be able to help you with your business. So I'm going to hand you over to Adam at this point, and he will demonstrate some of the functionality for you.
Thank you, Paul. Good evening, everyone. This is quite a daunting crowd to be using a computer in front of, I have to say, as an accountant. And this is actually a 15-minute demo that I'm going to try and do in about 4.5, so maybe way beyond my dexterity, but I will try my best. And Paul's given you the website, so please do feel free to have a go on your tablets or on your mobile phones. The broad context is to enable organisations to search for finance from essentially the list of funders that we have signed up to the database essentially at the moment. We've got 75, we're aiming for 100. It's most of the large organisations within the city, it's the banks, it's the realtor banks, it's the equity houses, it's the grant providers, it's the whole gambit, it's the peer-to-peer lenders. And the site itself works very simply on a sliding bar. And just to show you, for example, if you thought, for example, £20,000 was the number you wanted, let me just move this over, and you believe you wanted debt finance, then this will give you essentially a list through which you can scroll of debt finders within the locality. Perhaps not by total coincidence, I'll choose this one, given that they're based upstairs. And this will tell them a little bit more about this organisation. The types of funding that they will offer you, the parameters of that funding, which sectors they may or may not have a preference for, and what you can do is you can link through to their website. I won't do that, but believe me, that works for all of the funders, which will give you some more information about that organisation. Having read that, you may feel you want to make contact with them, and you have a link there through which you'll be connected to an individual within that organisation, not just the organisation, a local individual within the organisation, and it will say that it's come through from this portal. So if I just to give you a sense of the organisations that we have on here, say if it wasn't debt, but perhaps it was grant funding that you were looking for, and maybe it was 10,000, then it will give you a list there of local organisations who are prepared to have a conversation with you about that level of funding. Another area of the site, we have some helpful guides within here, and we have a glossary of terms to try and demystify some of the finance language that is used out in the business community. The other aspect of the site where we put a lot of effort in was trying to provide a number of useful links for people who are looking for finance, just to understand the jargon and to get guidance from a number of organisations that have produced good material. There's a very good guide here that's been produced by the ACAW, which I would say is very good, but I recommend people to read that as part of the fundraising process. There's some very good guidance from ACCA about putting together a business plan, and what we've also embedded within the site are some pro forma documents. So if you wanted to produce a plan, there's a template document there. There is also a link further up to a site that provides fully completed business plans to give you an insight into what other businesses have put in their plans to attract finance from funders. And there's also a template Excel document which is a cash flow forecast template which will help organisations essentially to present the financial picture of their business both now and the hopes that they have for it in the years to come. So I don't think we wanted to say much more than that, just to let people in this room know about it, to hopefully use it, and to spread the word of its existence. And we're looking to evolve the site, and we're voluntary contributors to this site. We're not looking to make any money from this site whatsoever. We just have done it as a way of hoping to connect small businesses and medium-sized businesses with funders in the local We would like it to evolve, and the best way for it to evolve is to hear that it's been a success. So if anybody does, as a result of using this site, attract funding, we would absolutely love to hear from you.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Adam? Matthew?
One thing that I hear a lot of friends and so on talk about who are creating tech startups is there's a minefield of it's so once you've got the funding, that's great, or an offer of funding, but the really difficult part, from what I'm told, comes when you're trying to work out if someone's trying to rip you off or not, in terms of equity. So like funding in terms of loans and stuff, okay, fine, but in terms of equity, there's all sorts of different ways that they can, how many seats on the board are they going to take? Are their shares preferential to yours? Are they going to dilute you out? All of that sort of thing. I know there's a couple of incubators in London which have not quite been as ethical as they could have been. So yeah, do you have, I don't know, ratings or something like that?
Well, as we've explained, it's designed to be more than just access to a funder. There's the other information about how to continue funding. And one thing which is being built, which is going on here, is a list of funders, a list of advisors here in the Greater Birmingham region who can provide exactly that sort of advice. So, and they will be the members of BPS Birmingham. So, if that's not up there before you need it, if you contact BPS Birmingham or me or Adam, we would certainly be able to put you in contact with the relevant correct advisor to give that sort of advice.
All right, thanks.
And also, don't forget we've got our incubator here. So that's what we do. We do obviously advise and guide businesses as well. Most of the businesses in the incubator program are looking for investment. So that's something that our entrepreneurs and residents can help with as well. And us as a incubator don't actually take any equity or anything in the businesses. So, we've got we haven't got sort of any particular interest in the business in that sense. So, any other questions on the online portal? Is that quite self-explanatory? Great, then. So I'll just invite David up now.
That's how the PowerPoint looks. So we'll be good. Evening, everybody. My name's David Rollinson. I'm here to give a small presentation on enterprise open source products, or the enterprise open source product that myself and my colleague Martin Bladen have been working with for the last few years. So a little bit about the company I work for, Minerva. We're a Danish parent company. We have a UK company, and our sister companies in Netherlands and France. In fact, I've got one of my French colleagues sat at the front there. Give us a wave, Guillaume. We are working with ERP products, enterprise resource planning. So if you're anybody who's worked with large companies familiar with products like SAP, Oracle, manufacturing, that type of enterprise product. We're also working with PLM, product lifecycle management, and that's really my area of expertise. So what is product lifecycle management? What does it do? It's a system or systems for managing product data. So primarily we're talking about engineered products, so electronic products, automotive, all kinds of products that have complex data. So we're looking at managing specifications, CAD data, technical publications. So a lot of our customers, they're using CAD connector tools, so they directly inject their CAD models, they're generating their brochures and technical documentation in Innovator, and then using that to manage that with their processes. So the associated processes that we're talking about are things like project management, so managing the process of developing a product in the first place. Quality control, what happens when product doesn't quite do what it's supposed to do. And finally, engineering change control. So if we want to address a quality problem, or if we want to address functional requests change to our product, engineering change control is the key to that. And customers that we've got so far include names like MAN, Diesel and Turbo. They design engines for container ships, large vessels. Honda, who you've probably heard of. Malvern Instruments you have never heard of. They're a company in the Midlands. They manufacture instruments for measuring the properties of fluids and other substances. So their customer base is pharmaceuticals, it's anybody who makes powders, concrete powder, pigments, you name it. There's 1,000,001 products out there that rely on their instruments for consistency and quality. And the surprise customer, because it's not what you'd think of as an engineered product, is Echo Shoes, one of our customers in Denmark. The product that we work with mainly is called Aras Innovator. It's from Aras Corporation in the United States. So we'll give you a little bit of a story about them. They're based in Andover, Massachusetts. They're founded by Peter Schroer, who's a bit of a PLM veteran, so he's worked with other companies in the past creating product lifecycle management software. But he decided to go off and create his own company, and this product, Aras Innovator. It's PLM based on the Microsoft stack, so all the open source guys out there will probably be questioning my open source credentials right now. And we're talking about Windows Server, Internet Information Server, SQL Server, and Internet Explorer as the browser, so a full Microsoft stack. And that's really just a historic thing. If you were starting an enterprise software business at the time Peter started, that's what you'd have chosen. These days, you'd probably choose a more full open source, Linux, Apache, etc. Latest versions, though, are moving towards more internet standards, HTML5 compliance, so Firefox is supported and we'll soon have Chrome on board as well. So that's just background. What we really want to talk about is how Aras went about selling their product. Typical enterprise sales model. Attractive salespeople. Executive cars. Great suits. Expensive lunches. And all that stuff gets paid for when you first buy a product from the company. A big upfront license fee. So typically, if you want to buy a product from our competitors, they're going to want €500,000 up front, maybe more. So that's your entry into their world. And Peter wanted this as well. He started his company out and tried the enterprise sales model. Failed completely. Couldn't get anybody to buy his product. And it's a great product. He's about to give up. And he decided to try something different. He got rid of his sales team. Gave the software away. So now he's right in your open source world, giving product away and hoping to make money somehow. So his new sales model, he's no salespeople, attractive or otherwise. Software is offered as a free download. So my colleague Martin, he's basically chasing up on the people who've downloaded. So he's already got a slightly qualified sales lead there. There's no charge for using the software. We've had customers take the software, they've had advice from us, and then they've gone off and used it, and we've never seen them again. No money. Just like those LinkedIn people. If you're using it as a free download, your support is via the community. There's a website at aras.com, and they'll have a community pages there, and you can get support through that. The alternative, and the way Aras would like to make money, and we'd like to make money with them, is annual subscriptions. So for that, we offer subscriber-only features, things like Vault Replication. If you were PLM, you might have an idea. Office Connector, Secure Social. So these are features of the software. So they add features for subscribing. They also provide support. Interestingly, they also provide free training. Enterprise software training is usually expensive. If you want to go on a course for SAP, it could be several £1,000s just for a week's training. With Aras, it's free if you're a subscriber. You just turn up at Boston and in Andover or one of their other offices, and they'll train you for weeks on end. We've just sent a guy up there, one of our customers, they've just sent a guy to for 2 weeks training. All they pay is hotels and airplane flights. The other thing they offer, which is unique in our industry, is that they will upgrade your systems. And by upgrade, they actually do upgrades. If you are an SAP or other enterprise software customer, you will usually find that when it comes to upgrade time, it's almost as expensive as buying it in the first place. ARAS can upgrade your software as a subscriber for free, and we have customers who upgrade every 18 months. With them, it's a relatively painless process. No free lunches either, unless you're in the training course. Oh, no, actually, even on the training course, they don't pay for your lunch, I've remembered. If this was consumer software, apps, we'd be talking about the freemium model. So you give it free, but really you want the features. Pros and cons of this new sales model, as we found. The prospects like the try before you buy. Typically, if you're going to buy a competitor product, you're being asked to offer several €100,000, and you're not exactly sure about what you're getting until it's delivered. With Innovator, we'll give you the product, you can play with it for years. Honda must have played with it for like 2 years, and then they decided to commit. A low capital cost. One of the big problems of getting anything done in a big business is there's loads of accountants who don't want you to spend money. And capital fees that come with these software products is substantial. So they also like that nothing's hidden. The software's open. Inside the product, you've got all the code. You can change it however you want. It's a very flexible product. What they don't like is paying for stuff. But that's just a matter of explaining your business model. If you explain that you're not going to be giving them that big bill up front, they'll start to consider paying a couple of thousand for training, a couple of thousand for analysis that will benefit them in the end. They kind of don't like the face-to-face contact. They, like people to have made the effort to drive all the way up to Gretna Green or wherever and talk about a product. So that's another obstacle. But web meetings, Martin will probably give you more information on that. That actually can overcome a lot of those problems. They don't like no free lunches either. I do have some thoughts about this approach because it may affect your type of software as well. It's got to be simple to set up a trial. Again, enterprise software is often very complicated. Our competitor products can, as my colleague Damien would say, tell you, maybe take a day to set up. So that's a lot of time for somebody to invest. And more, yeah. ARAS was a bit old school in this. They'd actually let you download the software, you'd have to install it, you'd have to have some technical expertise, require the cooperation of the IT department sometimes to get it going, and might require assistance from us. So an alternative now would be to use cloud-based services, and this is what we're doing. So we offer a cloud solution. It's quicker to get going, so customer can say, yeah, I'd like a trial. We set them up a cloud instance. We don't require the cooperation of their IT department. We might still require some assistance, but it's all our kit. It's easier to do. And we don't need, the thing you don't need to do is wait till all other approaches have failed if you're going to go down the open source type route. What you do need to do is tailor your product for freemium, though. It's got to have enough functionality to be attractive when it's free, but you've got to provide enough premium content to make it worth paying for. Thanks for listening. Any questions?
Any questions for David?
Yes.
The software package, you're talking about managing CAD models. Do you also do bill of materials?
Yeah, effectively we can extract bill of materials from the CAD model, and it's extended bill of materials as well, so it can include software components, mobile instruments. We've done integrations for Visual Studio Team System. Yeah, it's the whole kit and caboodle, so software, mechanical, electronic.
If you don't have salespeople, how are customers finding
It's basically that they go on Google. You've got engineers who are thinking about either replacing PLM systems or they want to introduce PLM systems into their business, so they're Googling for those terms, and ARAS Innovator is coming up as one of the options. And then they download. Once they've downloaded, we get some notification. If it's in our region, so basically Northern Europe, we'll get notification about that, and Martin will contact them and we'll see where they want to go from that. And sometimes it's a they're just looking, and sometimes it's yeah, we'd like to know more. Yes, sir.
So with the freemium open source model, most companies I know doing it still have salespeople because deals still need closing. So have you got rid of salespeople entirely?
We do have closers, but they're not driving around, they're not phoning people up, pressure sales. It's more a case of extracting from the people who are interested that people who are interested enough to be paying customer.
But you've just put, I mean, it sounds like what a lot of the open source companies do, which is you put the salespeople just further down the pipe.
Yeah, and there's a different kind of salesperson as well.
Right, okay.
Yeah, as you say, it's basically the closers. I mean, if you saw our guy from Denmark, you're not going to send him first. The Viking, yeah.
Not with those kind of clarity.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Yes, sir.
How's this what is related to the competitors that are not open source and they start to...
Right, okay. Competitive products are things like Siemens Team Center, Dassault, Innovia, and PTC Windchill, and also from Oracle Corporation Agile.
Yeah.
So,
and there are some smaller area ones from America which are cloud-based, such as Arena.
Yeah, and in some regions, like Sweden, for some reason, loads of companies have written their own, and we're picking up effectively second-generation PLMs. So there are competitors out there, but they're big corporations: Siemens, Dassault, Oracle, PTC. They're the smallest, and they're massive.
Is there an option to have a software as a service online to offer this?
Yeah, Aras are keen on this because they are big friends with Microsoft, surprisingly, and so they're offering services through things like Azure.
It's available in the Azure shop.
Yeah, so it's available in Azure, which is obviously Microsoft's cloud services company.
Okay. Thanks, David.
Okay, thank you.
Just before I wrap everything up, I promised two people that they can just quickly do a 1 minute plug. I just want to introduce you first to, I can never pronounce it, Yoli, who's doing something great, great from Birmingham. It initially started in London, and it's actually about it's actually about teaching people, underrepresented groups, to code. So it's a volunteer-led group. We actually hold it here once a month, and I'll let you give some more details.
Yeah, that's about it. It's
no, there are still some things. But also, I know some people put their hands up before. You're also looking for developers to actually teach the code as well. And I know some people put their hands up. So it is normally just once or twice a month if people are looking to actually teach people to all different types of code, isn't it?
It's okay, so I will take it a bit from the beginning.
Yes,
just very quickly.
I'll go away. So
it is an initiative to bridge the diversity gap in the tech industry. It's aiming underrepresented groups. It's a weekly event in London, Cambridge, Brighton, New York. Now it has arrived in Birmingham. For now, it's going on every 2 weeks. You can sign up as tutors or as students, and we have a different host. Innovation Birmingham is one of the hosts. The structure is that in the beginning there is free food and socializing, then probably a small speech from the host or from somebody else, and then we assign tutors to students and the workshop starts. So when you sign up, you can say what you want to learn or what you are able to teach, and that's it.
And how long is the sessions for?
It starts at 6:30 and goes on until 9.
I'd like to mention the next one is actually here next Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Again with the follow-up email tomorrow. We can send all the details if anyone wants to sign up, whether they want to learn coding or actually volunteer their time to teach it.
What's it called?
Code Bar. Code Bar.
Code Bar.
Yeah. So anyone who wants to attend, just go to codebar.io/Birmingham, and you can sign up, and you will get an invitation every time there is an event.
Anyway, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Ed, do you want to give a big plaque back?
I would love to.
And then we can go and get some pizza.
Yes, sorry for that guy that holds me up from pizza, but my name's Ed, and I'm organising Plus Minds this year, which is the only event in the UK which focuses on consumer tech, so anything which touches on the lives of consumers and improves experience in any kind of way. We're holding a one-day event on June the 5th, which unfortunately clashes with Jim, so come to me, not Jim. But we've got a morning session in which there's 10 slots for startups to pitch to a room of around 50 investors and angels, which is cool. So if you're looking to close any kind of round with a seed, or maybe if you're Spotify and you're closing a Series F and you want $100 million, then you can come along. In the afternoon, we've got 3 panels focusing on lots of different topics, from apps to augmented reality, because it's cool, and lots of different agencies and various ad tech panels too, which is very cool. So we've got Shazam, Y-Plan, which is an app in London, also New York, San Francisco, Jaguar Land Rover, Betfair, Havas, and PhD Media, who are massive media agencies, all coming along to speak, which is very cool, along with a load more startups. So yeah, everyone should come. Tickets on that much. It's great for Birmingham because we're on the maps. Lots of networking with people all over from Manchester, Bristol, all over the country. So it should be really, really good. So yeah, everyone come.
You've got some flyers.
I do. I've got loads of flyers with my name on it, with my email address on, and around. So come say hello.